Thank you, Cosmo, for leading the service so confidently with your beautiful Hebrew this evening, and a special thank you to your teacher, Leah, who's guided you through the process of preparing not only for this evening, but of reading the Torah tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, we commence the reading of the third book of the Torah. Leviticus, as you well know, Cosmo, is not an easy book to read. Its first 9 chapters are challenging to the modern reader. A manual for priests, each chapter instructs them how to perform different kinds of sacrifices. The idea of slaughtering scores of animals or birds on an altar, a kind of ancient barbecue on which animals would be roasted and offered up to God, the leftovers eaten by the priests, is a deeply foreign practice, even repulsive and cruel to our modern minds. Yet even several hundred years after the temple was destroyed and the sacrificial cult had ceased altogether, these chapters were, indeed are, still read in synagogue and endowed with significance and meaning. According to the rabbis in Leviticus Rabbah, children would begin their studies not with the first book of the Torah, Genesis, with all its wonderful stories of creation and Noah and Adam and Noah and Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, but rather with the book of Leviticus. Was this not a strange choice for young children? But as Rabbi Assi, a 3rd century Palestinian sage, taught, they're taught the book of Leviticus first because the children are pure and the offerings are pure. And so, he said, let the pure come and engage in the pure. The sages move away from the practicalities of the sacrificial rite and abstract from these chapters spiritual and moral teachings for their own time, equating the unblemished animals offered up as sacrifices with the unblemished purity of young children. A contemporary commentary to the opening verses of Leviticus, Ki yakriv mikem korban ladonai, when an individual presents an offering of cattle to the Eternal One, draws an analogy between the very precise process of offering up sacrifices and the handling of radioactive material. English has no good way of reproducing the important wordplay embedded in this phrase. The 2 Hebrew words translated as presents and offering, yakriv and korban, are both derived from the same root, kuf, resh, bet, meaning to come near or to draw near. Thus, the language of sacrifice carries a sense of coming close to the divine, describing a safe way to interact with the supreme power. The precautions taken by ancient worshippers and priests, such as approaching only in specified ways and times, are analogous to those taken by modern technicians when handling radioactive material. Potent energy that can heal and kill must be approached with maximum attention to procedures. Leviticus casts us back more than 2,500 years to a place and time where such practices were undertaken in a world that believed God required sacrifices as a way of expressing gratitude and thanksgiving, commemorating festivals and Sabbaths, and as a way of repairing a disordered world. When Noah and his family emerge from the ark, together with all the animals that have been cooped up with the humans after the flood, Noah builds an altar in honor of God, and taking some pure beasts and pure birds, offers up whole burnt offerings. The Torah tells us, the Eternal One, inhaling the soothing fragrance, thought, "Never again will I bring doom upon the world on account of what people do, though the human mind inclines to evil from youth onward. Never again will I destroy all living beings, as I have just done." This idea of God inhaling the soothing or sweet savor of the sacrifice offered up to him is repeated in 17 places in the book of Leviticus. Whatever the sacrifice, whether an animal, wheat offerings, or birds, the smoke from the sacrifice rises upwards and, so to speak, reaches God's olfactory receptors, expressed in the Hebrew phrase, Ola ishe reach nichoach ladonai, an offering of fire, of pleasing odor to the Eternal One. This idea of a sweet-smelling savor reaching God's nostrils is not exclusive to the Torah. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Mesopotamian flood story on which the Torah's version is based, Utnapishtim, who survives a flood, offers a sacrifice which appeases the gods, who swarm like flies over the sacrifice, and various Sumerian hymns describe offerings as sweet, pleasing, and delightful to the nose of the gods. The Hebrew expression suggests that the fragrance of the smoke from the sacrifices brings rest to God, with the word nichoach, from a root meaning to offer respite or rest. Yesterday, I attended a meeting at the House of Lords, together with another rabbinic colleague, to meet with one of the bishops of the Church of England, as well as the Church of England's foreign policy advisor, both of whom had just returned from Israel and the West Bank. The conversation covered the war in the Middle East, Israel, anti-Semitism here in the UK, and what any of us could do to ameliorate what has clearly become a tragic and intractable situation. I am conscious that even to pray for peace can be construed as a vacuous prayer, empty of meaning, as though words like smoke rising up from an altar in ancient Israel could somehow reach a God who seeks rest from the turmoil of the world. What can we do to prevent the conflagrations in the Middle East? What can we do to stop the war, to prevent more civilians from being killed or wounded? Real sacrifices are being made in Israel, in Iran, and elsewhere, as lives are lost, and there is no holding back what the poet Rupert Brooke described as the rank upon rank, unbridled, unforgiving, black battalions of the gods. Between March the 3rd and March the 14th, at the beginning of this month, 7 incidents of violence were reported against synagogues and Jewish schools in Canada, Europe, and the United States. Mercifully, there were no fatalities, but had there been, they would undoubtedly have been Jewish, as they were in Pittsburgh, Manchester, and at Bondi Beach. The list of attacks against synagogues, Jewish schools, museums, and other Jewish institutions is depressingly long and relentless. Shootings, stabbings, graffiti, car rammings, arson, yelling of racist and anti-Semitic abuse. Jews living in Britain today take for granted the heightened security of our institutions, the vigilance and training of the CST, the Community Security Trust, that trains our own security volunteers and protects Jewish community events. Yet behind the safeguarding of synagogues, schools, and other venues, in places where there is little or no protection, such as universities, anti-Semitism is what a recent Union of Jewish Students report published this week called normalized. 20% of students on campus would not be open to sharing a house with a Jewish student. Glorification of terror is prevalent and goes unpunished. Students are tired of disruptive protest. Testimonies from students report strained friendships, social ostracization, harassment, intimidation, and even physical assault. Whatever we think of the situation in the Middle East, whatever our politics about the state of Israel, there is no justification for hate crime against Jews anywhere in the world. In a post written last week, Rabbi Josh Weinberg, Executive Director of ARTSA, the Association of Reform Zionists of America, wrote these words: "Dear world, please stop shooting at synagogues and taking your anger out of on the Jews. Thank you." And he concludes his letter to the world with these words: "Targeting Jews, our synagogues, our schools, our children, is not activism, it is hatred, and it must stop, because a synagogue is not a battlefield. A preschool is not a proxy for geopolitics, and Jews, wherever we live, are not responsible for the decisions of a government thousands of miles away. In fact, targeting Jews only diverts attention away from the actual issues. It unifies us and prevents further empathy for the cause you claim to promote. The world must finally learn this basic truth: attacking Jews will not bring justice to anyone. It will only repeat one of humanity's oldest and most shameful patterns." As we celebrate Shabbat together and the beginning of your journey, Cosmo, to Jewish adulthood, I am drawn back to Rabbi Asi's famous statement about children beginning their studies with Vayikra, Leviticus, and the connection between their purity, their silence and awe, watching their mother light the Shabbat candles in the poem your mother read at the beginning of this service, written by your great-grandfather and translated into English by your grandfather. The poem concludes with an affirmation of the rest and respite that Shabbat offers from all our cares. Released are we now from our burdens. We join to sing our Sabbath song. Mother has lit the Sabbath candles. Her prayers have kept our people strong. May the words of our prayers, the meditations of our hearts, the unblemished observance of our rituals, and our loyalty to our faith keep our people strong and safe, now and always, and let us say, Amen.